What does it look like when the most important player in the history of women's basketball finally breaks? Not on the court, not during a play, but sitting behind a microphone, fighting back tears, carrying the weight of an entire league on her shoulders while the one person whose job it is to protect her just doesn't. What happened after the Indiana Fever's devastating loss to the New York Liberty wasn't just a bad post-game presser. It was a distress signal. And if the people in charge don't start paying attention, this entire season and maybe this entire franchise is headed somewhere it can't come back from. Let's talk about what actually happened on the floor, because the numbers from this game are genuinely hard to believe. The New York Liberty shot 41 free throws. The Indiana Fever shot 15. Read that again. Breanna Stewart alone, one single player, shot 21 free throws. That's 6 more than the entire Fever roster combined. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, the player who gets hacked, grabbed, and body-checked on virtually every possession, finished the night with exactly 0 free throw attempts. 0. She picked up 5 fouls while trying to defend some of the most physical guards in the league, but when she drove to the basket and absorbed contact on the other end, nothing. No whistle, no call, just silence. Clark finished with 10 points on 4 for 14 shooting, 2 for 6 from 3, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds. Even on a brutal shooting night, her basketball IQ was still oozing through every play she made. But she spent the entire second half terrified to play defense because one more whistle would have sent her to the bench for good. And that changes everything: her aggression, her rhythm, her confidence. When a player is playing not to foul instead of playing to win, the game is already over. But the officiating was only the first betrayal of the evening. What happened at the podium afterward cut much deeper. Caitlin Clark sat down in front of the media and did what she always does. She took full responsibility. She didn't point fingers at the refs. She didn't call out the disparity. She said there were a couple of fouls that were dumb, and that's on her. She said she needs to find ways to get to the free throw line. She said she needs to be better. That's a champion's mentality. That's what leaders do. But this time, something was different. The composure that has defined her entire career, from Iowa to the WNBA, cracked. The emotion was visible. The exhaustion was written all over her face. And when you've watched Caitlin Clark long enough, you know this isn't someone who breaks easily. She's been doubted, targeted, fouled hard, trash-talked, and scrutinized under a microscope that no athlete in women's sports has ever experienced. She's handled all of it with a level of grace that most veterans couldn't match. So when that armor finally cracks, even for a moment,
if you put into more action, you have a higher percentage of probably getting a foul called on you. And I think sometimes I'm doing my best, keeping my hands out, and there was a couple that were just dumb tonight, and that's on me. And I can't do those, especially the one on Satu, I think in the end of the third quarter or early in the fourth quarter. I didn't expect her to go into emotion. I just was going for the ball, and it was a heady play by her, but just those, eliminating those. And I also, in return, need to do a better job getting to the free throw line. Those are easy and free points, and I haven't shot many free throws this year. And just finding ways to make the refs call the same foul in return on the other end.
See, she's trying to be stand up and not complain, because she knows that if she complains, people will be like, whoa, look, they changed the rule.
That single heartbreaking visual should send shockwaves of absolute panic through the front office of the Indiana Fever. You do not draft the greatest offensive engine in the history of collegiate basketball. The singular entity responsible.
You're not watching frustration. You're watching someone who has been carrying an impossible load without a safety net, and the rope just snapped. And as Clark sat there absorbing every ounce of blame, the question nobody in the room wanted to ask hung in the air like smoke. Where was Stephanie White? Here's what Stephanie White said after the game. She acknowledged the team didn't help Clark defensively. She said the rotations could have been better. She mentioned that if the team's positioning improved, it could take some pressure off Clark. All perfectly reasonable basketball analysis, and all completely insufficient for the moment. 41 free throws to 15. Your franchise player with 0 attempts and 5 fouls. Your generational talent sitting in the next room on the verge of tears. And the strongest thing you can muster is we need to adjust to the whistle. Every legendary coach in the history of professional sports understands that there are moments when strategy takes a backseat to protection. Pop did it for Duncan. Phil Jackson did it for Kobe. They marched into that press room, slammed their fist on the table, read the stat sheet out loud, and dared the league to fine them. Because the fine isn't a punishment, it's an investment. It tells your locker room, I see what's happening to you and I'm stepping into the fire to stop it. White didn't step into the fire. She stood safely behind the line and let Clark burn alone. And she didn't use a single coach's challenge on the borderline calls that buried Clark in foul trouble. A challenge isn't just a tactical tool, it's a psychological weapon. It tells your player, I believe you, I'm going to war for you, leaving those challenges in your pocket while your best player drowns. That's not tough love.
It was 2 years. And now he's got the worst whistle with this thing. That girl Astier is going to be held. The announcers were talking about, oh, Astier is just blowing back. No, she's not blowing by Caitlin. If this is a foul, that girl Astier, whatever her name is, I forgot her damn name.
90 seconds left. 90 seconds left in this game. The vet screens for the rook. Astier goes right.
That's abandonment. And the worst part is this wasn't the first time. Rewind to the Portland game. The Fever are playing an expansion team, the Portland Fire. With 6:30 left in the first quarter, White pulls Clark, Hull, and Boston from the floor. Indiana is leading at the time. By the end of the quarter, Portland is up 29-15. A 14-point swing because the coach decided her substitution pattern mattered more than the momentum of the game. Then came the timeout argument that went viral. White jabbing her finger. Clark gesturing defensively, clearly pleading her case. Clark standing up, walking behind White, shaking her head, then being subbed out for a rookie. Clark finished that game with 6 points in 22 minutes, the worst statistical output of her professional career. Analyst Jason Whitlock went as far as claiming White and her staff sabotaged Clark with the early substitution, pointing out that it was the earliest Clark had been pulled in any game all season. Now, sabotage is a strong word and it should be treated as opinion, not established fact. But the underlying data is real, the pattern is real, and the tension is visible to anyone paying attention. Clark, to her credit, defended White publicly. She called the moment two competitive people that really want to win and said the people overreacting don't have a clue. That's loyalty. But loyalty can't be a one-way street. And what happened next revealed just how deep the organizational dysfunction goes. When longtime Indiana basketball reporter Scott Agnes reported on Clark's last-minute scratch from a game due to back soreness, a scratch that the Fever failed to properly report, earning an official warning from the WNBA, the organization didn't address the questions. They revoked his press credentials. Cited the spread of inaccurate and unsubstantiated information. This is a reporter who had attended every Fever training camp practice, every home game, and every playoff game for years. Gone, just like that. Meanwhile, the questions about Clark's health remain completely unanswered. White told the media Clark was healthy while simultaneously describing her condition as a back issue. Clark herself admitted her back gets out of line pretty quickly and needs to be adjusted during games. She's talked openly about how injuries have made her hyper-cautious and how the mental hump of returning from them is something she still battles. This is an organization that would rather silence reporters than give straight answers. That would rather contradict itself at the podium than admit their franchise player might be dealing with something serious. And that kind of culture, where transparency goes to die, is exactly the environment where trust between a player and her organization erodes beyond repair. Here's what people forget when they reduce Caitlin Clark to a box score. This is a player who carries an entire league on her back. She fills arenas in cities she's never played in. She holds the record for most assists in a single WNBA game with 19. She became the fastest player in league history to reach 1,000 points, 250 rebounds, and 250 assists. She received 1.29 million All-Star votes, the most in WNBA history. She's not just a basketball player. She's an economic engine, a cultural phenomenon, and the single biggest reason the WNBA is experiencing its most significant growth in decades. And she's doing all of this with a back that won't stay aligned, after missing 31 games in 2025, while being targeted defensively at historic rates, 34 isolation possessions defended in 4 games, the highest mark by any player in a 4-game span. in 3 seasons. Opponents aren't just playing against her, they're hunting her. And instead of building a fortress around her, the people in charge are leaving the gates wide open. Clark admitted it herself, she's not perfect. She knows she needs to be better, but perfection shouldn't be the price of protection. There is an unwritten contract between a franchise player and a head coach. The player gives everything, their body, their stats, their ego, to the system. In return, the coach provides a shield, protection from the media, protection from the officials, protection from the weight that no single person should have to carry alone. Caitlin Clark has upheld her end of that contract every single night. She takes accountability when she plays poorly. She defends her coach when the internet demands blood. She shows up, plays through pain, and gives this organization everything she has. The only question that matters right now, is whether the Indiana Fever are doing the same for her. The firing rumors around White have been debunked. She's still the coach. But the tension is undeniable and the clock is ticking. Because you don't get a second chance to build trust with a generational talent. You either protect her now, or you watch her light dim under the weight of everything you refuse to carry. So what do you think? Should Stephanie White be held accountable for leaving Clark exposed? Or is this just the brutal reality of building a championship culture? Drop your take in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. Button and the notification bell because this story is far from over. And when the next chapter unfolds, we'll be here breaking it down raw, honest, and with zero sugarcoating. See you in the next one.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.